Hi everyone and welcome to Investment News TV. My name is James Burton here at Schwab Impact 2025 in Denver. Delighted to be joined by Cayla Culver, Head of Risk and Controls at Advisor Services at Schwab. Cayla, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much. Happy to be here.
So, compliance, regulation, it's something we hear about a lot from our readers, our advisors.
Yes.
Just bringing that into a bit of here and now context, in particular with the SEC and the government shutdown, how does that impact your world and what's your take on that?
So I think it's important for advisors to remember that just because the SEC shut down and just because we have a new administration that is very focused on deregulation, that you still have to do your compliance tasks. All those deadlines are still approaching. All your filings are still going to be due. So you really still need to focus on your day-to-day compliance and risk responsibilities. Something that we've seen as a result of the shutdown is we've got firms that were mid-SEC audit exam who are now in that uncomfortable limbo, waiting to see, are they gonna get a report, that says they have a finding. So that's something we're seeing. We're also seeing that firms that were in the midst of getting registered and filing their ADVs have yet to be approved. So, that's definitely an impact there. And they're just from an overall compliance perspective, I think it's kind of felt like a bit of a whiplash for advisors because under Chair Gensler, we saw so many new rules being proposed constantly, and it was very hard for advisors to keep up. And now under Paul Atkins, we're seeing, kind of an ease in that. We're not as expecting as many new regulations to come out. So really encouraging advisors at this time to really just focus on making sure their compliance program is strong, focus on the basics. Are their policies all documented? Are they doing what their policies say?
Okay, shifting that to the advisor focus then, more generally, what are you hearing? What is the biggest compliance or regulatory issue at the moment, aside from the shutdown, that advisors are asking you about?
So something advisors are focused on right now is Reg SP, because that goes into effect very soon. So for advisors that have under $1.5 billion in assets under management, they have to adhere to that December or over 1.5 billion or December 3rd of this year. And then for the rest of firms, they've got to adhere to it in June. And so this is a big lift for firms. We're urging firms not to sleep on this. With all those rules that were withdrawn in June, we're afraid that some firms might be thinking, oh, I don't have to worry about that. But that one is still out, still going into effect. So it's important that they pay attention to that. Another thing from a regulatory perspective is really AI. Lots of questions from advisors about what do I need to do with AI? How do I need to disclose it? Should I have procedures? How do I govern it? Because there's no clear guidance or rules around it yet. So we're encouraging advisors, if you are using AI, make sure you're disclosing that, make sure you have procedures, make sure you're following the procedures, make sure you're documenting those things.
I'm intrigued by AI because it's moving so fast.
Yes.
How do you, in your role, harness that? I mean, because from the outside looking in, it would strike me that AI is a huge risk.
Yes.
Because it's so fast and it's so potentially out of control.
Yes. It definitely stresses me out. And I get that sense from a lot of people that work in risk and compliance. They kind of have the same reaction. I'm very excited by it because I'm hopeful that it can take some of those mundane compliance tasks that we do where we're just really double checking things, and it can automate that for us so that we can spend our time focusing on the items that are of real risk. But there is also risk that advisors need to be thinking about of, do they know if people are using AI? Because it's possible that their employees are using it and they don't know.
Yeah.
And so that's a risk to their firms.
So when we spoke to advisors recently about AI, and they've talked about note taking and some client recommendations, but also the worry about not checking what's being spat out, so to speak. So just, what tips do you give advisors, or what do you advise those professionals to do to guard against that?
Yeah, so we had a good discussion about this yesterday. And the compliance consultant that was speaking on this topic, she's very conservative, as are we. So, conservative approach to this is making sure that you're reviewing the transcript and that you're making sure it's accurate. If you're making any type of change to that, documenting why you're making the change and retaining all of that. Also having procedures that describe how you do that and describe where you store it and describe who's supervising the person that is doing the review. So I think advisors think of this note-taking as, a great efficiency win, which it is, but you just have to build in those checks on the back end because it does sometimes get things wrong in the way that it is capturing what they think was said.
Fantastic. Well, Cayla, listen, it's been fascinating talking to you. Just maybe one final thought, a message to our advisor readership. What things should they have top of mind in terms of, their compliance, their regulatory part of their business?
Sure. So Reg SP is coming up very fast. So make sure you have that in mind. Focus really on making sure your ADV is accurate, your disclosures are up to date, and then just focusing on the fundamentals of compliance to make sure that you're ready for your exam.
All right, Cayla, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for joining us on Investment News TV. We'll see you next time.